I come here to give you that fragile thing we call hope. Hope for peace. We can talk about peace in America, and you think, well, is that enough for world peace? Well, it starts here, the same way it starts in El Salvador, same way it starts in Canada. World peace starts in Canada, same way it stands in Al Basra. Peace, the same way it happens in Milwaukee. How do you gauge peace? How does it affect the world? The can returns. If you remember, I spoke of the aggression of the can returns and how that having the mask and saying, back off, 6 feet, kept me from having to beat the fuck out of somebody and kept somebody from being close enough to throw a sucker punch. There was the guy in the line the one time. This is before the insurrection. There was a guy in line, he's standing going, and he's saying things. It's just like, wow. He's calling the governor of Michigan, Governor Witless, which is a bullying term that came out of that poor guy. Everybody fucking listened to it. Everybody that supported him was saying it. You can't even come up with something on your own, you know, it's that easy. Whitmer, Witless. It's not bad. It's not bad. But if you want to be clever, you have to be able to come up with your own things when you're in public. Don't just repeat something. You don't have the talent to come up with your name. You could have called her Witness. What do you mean, Governor Witness? It makes her sound too good. She saw the whole thing. She's a witness to the crime. She was in cahoots. You could say something like that. But this guy's saying Witless, and then he started telling jokes about Jews in a canoe, and then he started telling jokes about black people, and it's like everybody's getting nervous, and I'm just like, back off, 6 feet, and he's like, and he realized that it was just too far away to sneak up on me. I'm fucking going, come on, motherfucker. Seems to me you're talking to yourself more than you're talking to us. How much do you need to convince yourself that this stuff is real? You want it to be true because you want it to be awful. And if it's awful, then you can just slap your wife around and kick your kids and the neighbor's dog and tell them I'm right. And it's your kind of awful. But that shit stopped. After the fucking come to Washington, it's gonna be a riot. Oh, it'll be wild. What a riot. After that happened, and the riot fucking happened, people weren't so much into it anymore. The traffic became more peaceful, and the can returns were more acceptable in the eyes of morality and ethics. We all seemed to be able to get along and make jokes in line at the can return after that. Why? Because these people quit fucking stand up for what they wanted. They're like, ooh, this is maybe a danger to me and others. And, well, I don't want to be pointed out. That guy looks like he's going to kick me right in the nuts. Go for the instep. But today, as I say, how can you gauge where peace is on the planet? How I'm pretty sure whatever protest that might become a riot in the streets isn't going to be too much on Tuesday, the 21st, I suppose it is. It's because I was in the can return today. And I'm standing there. And I went and I checked before I went in. I'm not going to fill up my cart with a whole thing of fucking Pabst cans and go in and have to put them back in my trunk because everything's shut down. I went and I looked. I said, okay, 1 is out of order, 2 are still going. So I went back and the bottle return thing was working just fine. Bottles, you always do your bottles first and then get in line because your bottles go quicker. You wage it. You don't want to be standing there doing nothing all day long, waiting your turn. You try to be efficient about this. It's Sunday. You know, sometimes football could be on. You would like to be watching football at home. And I said, okay. And I filled my fucking cart up. And I go in, and there are the 2 can returns still run, boom, boom, boom. And there are people with, they're getting there. They had carts pretty well filled with cans, but they were getting there. And I come rolling up and I'm standing there. And there's some guy shows up with a NASA, what looks like a NASA symbol on his hooded sweatshirt. And he's just got one little bag of cans. And I'm looking and I say, it says, the earth is not flat. And then under it says fact checked. And I'm remembering how when I was like 10 or 12 years old, when everybody knew that the world wasn't flat anymore, I remember looking at the sky without even thinking of it, just knowing that the world was round and watching the condensation trails from an aircraft that was going over. And I could see that it seemed lower over there and lower where it was going and higher where they were left above me. I realized obviously the earth's not flat. It's not like somebody's shooting up and coming down just where I can see them. They're going somewhere, and it shows the roundness of the world. Everybody knows the world's not flat, but there are people saying it is now. And this guy's got a shirt on that says that. I'm like, he's in the know. He's aware. He seems like a decent fucking person. And I looked at him, and I had the whole can things, and I looked at him, I said, you know, you can go next if you'd like. And he's like, oh, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I got all these. And then when the one guy finished on the right, he said, you just go ahead. I was like, what? He said, go ahead. He says, this guy's almost done over here. I'll be able to get that. And I said, okay. So I went over with my stuff. It made perfect sense. I didn't have to argue about it. He was going to be okay. I said, yeah. I said, we got plenty of time. Being that I decided not to go to church today, that gives me an hour on my Sunday. Great Sunday, Mike. And he's like, nobody's ever sure how to deal with me. And I know when they're laughing just to keep me fucking at bay. I said, okay. I roll up, I put 2 cans in, and it goes doot, doot, and it kicks out my slip, and it says, this machine is down. I'm like, ah. I said, wow. And before I'd even done that, I looked at him too, and I'd said, you know what? You see that? I said, everybody acts like it's so hard to get along. There I am in the can return heaven. There's no place in my world where I'm reminded more that we're getting along than it is in the can return. You could do it at the gas station, any place. Like the can return is a place for me. How do people react to each other in the can return? Because you know it's going to take a while. And if it's going to take a while, well, it's going to take patience. How much do you need to be getting through something before somebody else that was there, and they had it coming. There's order. And I said that to him. I said, that means the whole world can get along because we can talk like this. And he's like, oh. And I put 2 cans in, so boom, kicks it out and says, you're done. I said, motherfucker. And he was just rolling up to the next one. I said, I gotta go tell somebody. So I went out front, and I sitting there waiting for the customer service line, and there were people with carts going through there, and the guy behind me, he's in front of me, he's like, what? I said, can returns down. He said, maybe you can tell her. I said, and he says, and she yells over to the customer service lady, she says, I'll send somebody in. Okay, and there it is. I said, no hurry. She's trying to apologize. I'm like, it's Sunday. I said, I got all the time in the world. It's like I got daylight savings time back by not going to church. Isn't that something? A benefit in our fucking real life by negating fictitious bullshit. It all works. Oh. And so I thought, how fantastic. The world's getting along. Not only that, but when I went back into the can room after getting that information passed forth, the guy's standing there, he's, I got you on the roll, man. I'm like, what? And he's running the machine that I was at. He had my cart by there. And I'm like, he says, I didn't want anybody else to get in front of you. I was like, oh. And he walked away, and all of a sudden, it kicks out an 80-cent slip. And I came around the corner. I said, hey. I said, you missed a slip. He said, no, that was yours. I started running yours for you. And I said, look at that. This is how I know that no matter what happens on Tuesday with that poor guy's call to protests about him being fucking held accountable for shit that he did like any one of us should do. Who cares about Jimmy in town that paid the hooker to shut the fuck up? Nobody. Nobody's gonna riot over it. They're like, that's Jimmy. They know who this fucker is. Now you got that poor guy doing the same shit and people follow him. Oh my gosh. The things people believe. But what it tells to me is that I was in the can return today and people are still getting along. That means to me that anybody that shows up to protest and try to tear shit down because this poor guy is probably going to get shot and shut the fuck down. And everybody else is going to understand that was sitting at home. They're like, yeah, stupid bastards. How are you going to ruin your life by going out of your way to support somebody that is doing nothing for you to begin with? Great Sunday, Mike. And then when I came out with my groceries and my beer and my milk and my water, you need water for coffee, and my coffee, because we still need to stock up. You never know when the big fucking problem's gonna happen. And my Jergens lotion, because every once in a while you gotta keep your skin soft and moisturized. I look terrible when I'm ashing. I'm putting my groceries into the trunk of the car. I heard in the damn shopping cart receptacle thing, I heard crash, crash. I mean, there's one of these fucking people that's just blowing a cart in there and not keeping order. And I turned around and there was a guy about my age and he was putting the carts right. he was situating them. And then he grabbed the side of the fucking canopy that was kicked off to the side and into the next lane where he wasn't even parked. And he's fucking tugging it to get it right. And I looked, I said, holy shit. It's happening even more. The things that I do when, like the other day, a guy said, oh, I'll take these in for you. And I looked at him, I said, I don't work here. And he's like, oh, shocks people that somebody might be trying to help somebody else out. These poor people out there in 20-degree weather trying to fucking get carts right so they can push them into the store because they work there and it's their job. Why do you want to keep them outside any longer than they need to be? It's less for me to do a little. It's not such a big deal. And I see that people are returning to some sort of state of normalcy. I've only been trying to do good things for as long as I can remember. And now suddenly, other people are starting to work together. Did I make this happen? I don't know. Your Messiah will never truly know for himself.